Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Derek Strauss with Gavroche, and we're partnering with the CDO Magazine, the MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and the International Society for Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Peter Serenita, Chief Data Officer at Scotiabank. Hello, Peter, and welcome.
Hi, Derek. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks. So Peter, you hold the distinction of being one of the very first executives appointed as a Chief Data Officer back in 2006.
Yeah, that's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about the early days as Chief Data Officer in the financial services industry?
Sure, absolutely. So as you pointed out, there really weren't any Chief Data Officers at the time. That was one other person, John, and myself. And like any new function, had to define it, right? Previously, data was very much embedded in IT because they needed to move data across from system to system. So it was very much at that point viewed as an IT function. But now data was now recognized to be a distinct capability. And so we needed to figure out, okay, what's the process that we're going to use data, or how to manage data? And, as you might imagine, with a new process, there really wasn't much tooling that was specific to data as well. So we had to use tools that were there and start to mature that capability. So it was a very interesting time. I would say it was also trying to define what the role exactly was. And, as you might suspect, there were a lot of different views on what the role should be and how it should function. So, and I think, right now, obviously, we've come a long way since those early days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a true innovative spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit of those days. It really gets the whole ball rolling. So, as the years have worn on since those early days of startup, how have you seen this role evolve, over the last decade?
Yeah, so I mean, it's amazing how quickly it's matured and how quickly it's been such a spotlight for and become a profession actually. The way I think of it is I kind of think of it in kind of three phases that we've gone through, right? So the first phase of it was very, very focused on data governance, right? It was very focused on regulatory agendas and things like and risk agendas. So there was a heavy waterfall process to how do we manage this data so that it's useful for those very important functions. Thing is that process takes quite a bit of time, right, to get that data actively managed. And quite honestly, it took, in some cases, too long. So businesses kind of looked at that and said, listen, what value am I getting from that? And that's when kind of the second wave started to come, right? The second wave was really more focused on analytics, and you started to see some shifting of the role in towards an analytics type of agenda. But also, it was so focused on analytics that almost did not include actually the data governance and the risk and some of the other important functions. So it was so focused on business outcome, which is not, it sounds like a great thing, and it is a great thing, but it can't be at the absence of good data governance and good, what I call protect the bank capabilities. And we also saw an influx of data people from outside financial services who weren't necessarily used to a regulated environment. And so now we started to see a third wave, and I think that's kind of the wave we're in now, which is really a merger, a kind of a more inclusive view of the data world, which is both to do data governance, but also to do business enablement and customer engagement, right? And it really starts to move from that waterfall process to a much more agile, much more iterative process, so it can support both business outcome and regulatory requirements in that one new process.
Yeah, that's striking that balance between the two seems to certainly be a major kind of trend that's developed. And it's interesting looking at different companies, how and different sectors, how those two have kind of been in the forefront and sometimes not achieved balance, but other times have achieved some kind of a balanced focus of attention. And clearly much has changed for the industry over the decade. And, as you look at the present state of the industry, where do you foresee the greatest opportunities for data professionals?
But I got to tell you, it's a great time to be in data. It's amazing. It's at the forefront of a lot of the business thinking now. Customers are more digitally engaged now as well. So, at the nexus of all that is data. And data is being used in a lot of different ways, right? It's being used for operational use, management information, some of the more sophisticated advanced analytics, deep learning, predictive analysis. So all of that is being driven by data, right? And that's just the beginning. I mean, I continually see the demand grow. So data professionals really need to be multifunctional, multi-capable, right? They have to be able to really know the industry that they're managing, because they're almost like a business person. That they need to really understand the business to really add that value, but they also need the discipline of, how do you do this in a way that adds that quality, that adds that value to data. So it's an opportunity to take data to the next level. I mean, really as a business driver, and we're at the cusp of that evolution. So like I said, I think it's a fantastic time to be in data.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's certainly really exciting. And it's great to have, folks like yourself who have really been involved in this right down, from the start of it, and to give us that overall perspective about, where the roots of this comes from, but also where some of the tweaks in terms of the direction, needs to take place, and what those kind of opportunities are. Yeah. I'd love to talk a lot more about that with you. Perhaps we could set aside a couple of future opportunities for us to dive a bit deeper into the current opportunities and challenges in data, and also perhaps to just look at the future. Where are we going to in the future? I'm sure you have some really interesting insights to give to us there. So we're going to end off right now. Peter, thank you for joining me today. And to all you viewers, please make sure to check back in again with us, as we'll have a couple more interviews with Peter that we want to share with you. So please also, in the meantime, visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews with other folks as well. So this is Derek Strauss signing out.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Peter.